Lengthened partials are the most anabolic portion of the range of motion. Here we go. All right. Hi, I'm John Hart, and welcome back to Mr. America Hart. That statement right there, lengthened partials being the most anabolic part of the range of motion. This is something that we've observed. It's empirically evident. Okay, we can observe bodybuilders over the years who have been just simply massive, that focused a lot on training in the extended portion of the range of motion. I can name Ronnie Coleman, Jay Cutler, some of the biggest of all time, and how there was an emphasis, an extreme emphasis, on the stretch position in a lot of the exercises that they did. So in some ways, we kind of look at this now, and in 2025, it's becoming more and more evident that that's been the case, that it's been the most anabolic part of the range of motion. And now there are studies that are backing that up as well. However, what I want to point out today is, let's just take a walk down memory lane for just one moment and try to piece together some of the greatest observations as well as applications. Okay, there we go. Observation turning into application on exercise to stimulate growth, hypertrophy, because that's what we're looking for, right? Bigger muscles. So, historically speaking, back in the 70s, I do credit Arthur Jones. He was the creator of the Nautilus machines, the big blue monsters that came out in the early 70s and were around for a couple of decades. Man, those things, you could find them in almost every gym around the world. If you didn't have Nautilus machines, you were behind the curve. What was so great about the Nautilus machines is they had a kidney-shaped cam that the cable ran on the machines, and it would vary the resistance. Well, here's that word, variable resistance, throughout a muscle's range of motion. So when you would use it on his duo squat machine, for example, you'd push the weight out, and it had differing resistance along the path, much like his leg press on the leg extension leg press pre-exhaust combination. It would have variable resistance. It would get harder at certain points in that range of motion. Whereas with a squat motion, a barbell squat, a front squat, a goblet squat, or even let's change that. How about the most popular these days, the 45-degree leg press? It's just one level of resistance at the top position near full contraction, as well as the bottom position at full extension. It does not vary. Why is this important? It's important because the muscle has a certain strength curve to it. And by using a weight that you can get through that whole range of motion, there is a limiting factor. And that would be the weakest part of that range of motion. In order to go through the whole range, you are exercising and working through the weakest part of that range of motion, which means you're going to use the lightest possible weight if you do full repetitions without variable resistance. Wow. There it is. So if you're going to do an exercise, it would make more sense that you would want variable resistance, right? Yeah. So Arthur Jones had these machines and he created them. And they did have the opportunity, you could have just trained right through a set of an exercise, on just about any one of them, and taken it to the point where you couldn't complete another full and complete repetition, and then continue on for partial repetitions, completely exhausting a muscle with multiple fatigue points at each portion of that repetition. He had a bench press machine with handles, someone like this. If you drove it out and you couldn't complete the reps anymore, well, then you would just do partial repetitions until it got closer, and you couldn't finish even one. That would be multiple fatigue points on a Nautilus bench press machine. Now, all of society kind of moved away from his Nautilus machines in a very unintelligent way. they moved away from it in the name of most machines that are kind of smooth feeling with just a regular circular cam. That's not science, okay? Let's just move on from that for a moment. To historically speaking, what did we have, or who did we have after that, who came up with some more revelationary ideas? That would be Mike Menser. Heavy-duty training, Mike Menser, Mr. America, Mr. Universe. An actively training top physique bodybuilder in the world, using a lot of the higher intensity techniques that Arthur Jones had espoused, which was pre-exhaust. But then Mike went even further than that, creating several techniques along the way, or I should say emphasizing them, such as doing static holds, such as doing, rest pause training, specifically rest pause, that one. At one point, well, I'm sure there were people putting weights down when they failed and then picking it back up. Mike kind of pulled it all together in describing what he used, or he termed rest pause training, and it made him grow more muscle, okay? That's where he picked a weight that was fairly heavy, got just a few reps, he put it down. He theorized, actually, that who said you need to do progressively more and more repetitions and fail with it at some point and then put the weight down? He thought to himself, well, why don't I just do a maximum single or a maximum double repetition and then be fatigued and then put the weight down and pick it up again and give another maximum effort for 1 or 2 repetitions, and put it down, get another 10 or 15 breaths, pick it up again, and do another 1, maybe with help from the training partner because you failed to get the full repetition. Ooh, remember what I just said right there? Because he was failing at a different fatigue point when you can't complete a repetition. That's what was happening when Mike was doing rest pause training. Not only was he training with a maximum effort, doing a maximum single or double repetitions, he was also fatiguing at various points of the range of motion, because he would go on from there and he would have his partner give him a forced rep. The way he described it to me, he went on from there and picked the weight up again, and literally it was just a set of 2 forced reps, which meant he was progressively failing at a closer and closer fatigue point, right? If you're doing bench presses or incline presses, which was his favorite. So that brings me all the way to 2025. Dr. John Jaquish has made the same point. We don't hear much about these things. He's made the same point. While the focus these days is on the lengthened partial portion of the repetition being the most anabolic, well, we have multiple fatigue points in a range of motion that all need to be exhausted, all need to be stimulated, all need to be strengthened. You need to be strong in all points of a range of motion of a given muscle. Now let's talk, right? So the studies looking at and focusing on lengthened partials, while they're nice and have been very good about pointing out how important that portion of the repetition is, I would end up saying right now, that the most important thing would be to fatigue. I agree with Dr. John. There it is. I agree with Dr. John. You have to fatigue every point of the range of motion. Now, how can you do that? Well, with variable resistance. We're going all the way back now 50 years ago to Arthur Jones and Nautilus machines. Or today, with the lack of Nautilus machines being around, they're just nowhere to be found. I mean, unless you have one in your garage that you bought secondhand on eBay and refurbished it. The fact of the matter is that there are very few companies even hinting or sniffing at variable resistance. Dr. John has come up with his bands, his X3 bar and X3 band system that does offer variable resistance. Oh, and so does Westside Conjugate Method. Okay, Westside Barbell has been using bands and chains for decades. So bands and chains. So this is a really good case for using chain training, band training in your workouts because they do offer variable resistance. A chain hooked up to the end of a barbell, as you stand up with it in a squat, you're picking up more chain off the floor, and therefore it's getting heavier as you go. And then you literally could keep taking it to the point where you fail at multiple points if you wish, which is the point that Dr. John accurately describes when he's talking about using rest pause along with failing at multiple points in a range of motion. When you fail on a bench press with bands at the furthest most point of the range of motion, you can only get 3/4 of the way and come down with it again and then go out again, you are going to fail about halfway. Coming down again, going out again, about 1/3 of the way. Coming down again, going out again, about 1/4 of the way. You won't be able to get the bar off your chest. The bands will be stuck right on your chest. That's multiple fatigue points stimulating hypertrophy, including the lengthened partial position, I might add. Here we go. So these are things that bring us to thinking and applying now. Here we go. Applying some of this in our own training. So I've taken on using those X3 bands now at this point in some of my own training on myself. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm at the beginning stage of it, and more to come, okay? But so I am having these same, sharing the same revelations as I get them, okay? And this is pretty cool.